It was a good question my buddy Tom McGrane posed on camera during our Captain Marvel trailer reaction. Who is the most powerful Avenger? Well, it depends largely on who you're counting as Avengers and from what era, but for the sake of argument,
Strongest Avenger.
Access denied.
all of them.
Strongest Avenger.
Access denied.
Damn you, Stark.
I'm Dan Umphin, and this is the Doomcast. Bruce Banner is functionally immortal because the monster within him cannot die, and possesses his intelligence and has no functional upper limit to its strength. Despite that, the Hulk isn't able to fly and lacks a lot of other powers that the other Avengers have. Now, the Hulk might be the strongest one there is, but he's not quite the most powerful. A good example is Hyperion. He's basically one of Marvel's many reimaginings of Superman, and there's a boatload of versions of him as well, so let's just use the most recent one. He's from a parallel reality in which he's the only survivor of his home planet. His universe was victim to the incursions that were being fended off by the new Avengers. That's a lot of backstory, but on his world, he was part of a race of Eternals that sent him to Earth, where he was raised by a kindly man who taught him morality. Sure, his powers are roughly similar to Superman's, but he's also able to perceive the entire electromagnetic spectrum and see at an atomic level. While that makes him super perceptive and insanely strong, there are certainly more powerful Avengers out there. Thor is the son of Odin, the brother of Loki, the wielder of Mjolnir, the god of thunder, the wearer of Mengenjord, the owner of the eternal goats Tooth Gnasher and Tooth Grinder. Sure, he's an imposing figure. You know what his power set is. He's immortal, he's virtually unbreakable, he has an unliftable hammer that lets him fly through space, and as the space god of lightning, he can call storms on Earth and in the cosmos, and he can hit stuff super hard. Still, not quite the most powerful.
That's what.
Then there's Wonder Man. Made of entirely ironic energy, he's like 10,000 spoons when all you need is a knife. Wait, ionic energy. So he's basically like, he doesn't need a body at all. Also, he's basically immortal as well, okay. He can summon blasts of energy, fly, pass through solid matter, teleport, change size. He can give his powers to other people for a period of time and possess them, kind of. He's basically like a purple ultra ghost boy. Possibly Captain Marvel. She's imbued with the power of a Kree super soldier named Captain Mar-Vell. Carol Danvers is an Air Force colonel, so she outranks Steve Rogers, and she's able to fly. She can fire energy blasts and absorb an insane amount of energy into her body that she can use to fuel those blasts. She can also travel through space and hit stuff really, really hard as well. In her binary form, she basically becomes a living star. She's capable of controlling massive amounts of stellar energy and boosting her power to incredible levels. Still, in the MCU, Doctor Strange is really just well-versed in magic, but in comics he's even more well-versed in magic. Being the Sorcerer Supreme in comics means access to the most magical power that you could possibly imagine, and the use of things like the Eye of Agamotto, which is way different in comics and totally not an Infinity Stone, and other magical artifacts like it make him super powerful. He's also got the ability to astral project and a cosmic awareness close to that of other super beings like the Silver Surfer, Ego the Living Planet, Galactus, and Eternity. But there was a point in Marvel history where the upper limit of Doctor Strange's power was functionally whatever the writer could just imagine him doing. Anything. However, in the MCU and in comics currently, he's much, much more limited. The Scarlet Witch is severely depowered in the MCU, but she's one of the earliest Avengers in comics and arguably one of the heaviest hitters. Wanda Maximoff is an absolute beast in comics and capable of not just firing cool red blasts and lifting shit with her mind, but she can literally change reality at will. She is basically a living reality gem and has personally altered the fabric of reality more profoundly than Thanos does in the MCU, and done so multiple times. One time she changed history so Magneto ruled everything, and then later instantaneously depowered all but 178 mutants on planet Earth. So if your power is basically just anything, then that puts you pretty high on the list, I'd say. The rest of these are within slivers of each other in terms of power, so call it what you want, tie for third or tie for first. First up is Blue Marvel, particle physicist Adam Brashear. He was transformed into a living antimatter reactor when he was caught in an explosion in a portal that he created to the antimatter universe of the Negative Zone. As a result, you've got your basic Superman power set. Plus, he's also able to manipulate energy, matter or antimatter at will, and he's also nearly invulnerable. Unable to age, he generates energy blasts and light at will, and he's also an incredibly accomplished scientist. In the past, Monica Rambeau's gone by both Captain Marvel and Spectrum, but her powers are fabulous and simple. She's able to absorb and embody any form of energy, period. She can travel at the speed of light, as light. She's discorporeal, meaning she doesn't need a body either, but she's able to materialize in whatever form she wants. She can fly, duh, and as multiple forms of radiation, she can pass through solid matter. She can become invisible, which sort of happens when you don't have a body, I guess. She can channel any form of radiation, or even radio wavelengths, Bluetooth, Wi-Fi, take your pick. She's essentially immortal as well, because she's basically just vibrations. And that makes her virtually unstoppable. Lastly, with the power of 1,000,000 exploding suns, Bob Reynolds is the Sentry, and his own worst enemy, the Void. To defeat the evil that's inside of him, he ultimately had to make everybody else forget who he was, including himself. But neither the Sentry, who is basically Superman on crack, nor the Void can be killed, well, forever. How powerful is the Void? It once ripped Ares in half just because it could. But the Sentry's powers are nearly limitless as well. He can reconstitute himself from being atomized. He doesn't eat, sleep, or poop. And yes, that's canon. Although that part doesn't make him more powerful, he's functionally immune to death because, yeah, one time he was technically killed by Thor and technically resurrected by Apocalypse. And now I guess he's technically still undead, which technically makes him a schizophrenic, alcoholic zombie Superman. And tell me if that is not the most powerful, insane thing that you've ever heard of. Well, there you have it. Roughly a half dozen or more of the most powerful Avengers in existence. Join me next week, won't you? Thanks, everyone. This has been the Doomcast.